Is your business pootling along instead of firing on all cylinders? Are you feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and frustrated? Do your dreams of financial freedom feel a long way off? Then this is the podcast for you. Little Voice, Big Business, with your host, Nadia Finer.
Hi there, welcome to my podcast, Little Voice, Big Business. I'm really happy to be here and that you're listening. This podcast has been a while in the making, mainly because I didn't actually have the balls to do it for many months, actually make that years. The idea of just being a voice and putting myself out there gave me the heebie-jeebies, I'll be honest with you, and the idea of embracing the fact that I have a small voice and I sound like I'm about 8 years old was even scarier. Up until fairly recently in my business, I actually hid. I hid behind a brand. I wrote rather than put myself visibly out there. Recently, I've been making the shift and have started to do some videos, and I figured that it was finally time to do a podcast and help share my expertise with my fellow female entrepreneurs. A little bit about me. I'm a business coach, I'm an author, and I work with my clients to help them grow their businesses. Most of my clients are female solopreneurs, i.e. they run their businesses on their own. So I help them with their strategy and I help them come up with ideas that are going to drive their businesses forward. Over the coming months, I'm going to be answering questions in this podcast. So each episode, I'll be answering a specific question, just like I do with my clients and with the members of my mastermind group, the Actionista Academy. So that's going to be the structure. But before we kick off, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my story, just in the spirit of being open and honest and also putting it all out there. So you can see that actually connecting with what makes you special or different or slightly weird can often be the thing that makes you stand out from everybody else in a good way. When I was at primary school, I remember being around 9 years old, and my mum was talking to one of the other mums about sending me to some kind of elocution lessons. I had no idea what they were. And the implication was that there was something up with the way I spoke. I had no idea what it was. I'd never heard myself on a recording before. So I just kind of ignored it. I think my mum sort of brushed it off. And then I remember a few years later, another child said, "Why do you talk like that? Why do you sound funny?" And I had really got no idea what they were talking about then either. I just carried on, living my life as you do. And then there was this one day, I remember, it was at secondary school, where we were in the language laboratory and I was learning French, and I listened back to a recording of my fairly pathetic efforts at speaking French. I couldn't believe what I heard. It wasn't the accent that shocked me, although probably it was pretty horrendous, but it was the sound of my voice. I couldn't believe that that was how I sounded. In fact, at first I didn't even recognise that it was me, and it was really surprising to me, and I thought, oh my god. And from that moment, I just became, I think, really self-conscious and aware that I sounded really young. And then as I grew up, sounding like you're a kid is a bit odd. You get strange reactions, I'm 36 now, and still when people ring up my house, they sometimes ask to speak to my mum, which is funny. Because I am a mum, so depending on my mood, I'll say, I am the mum, or I'm like, well, she doesn't live here, I'm 36, and they're always kind of surprised, especially if I'm ringing up somewhere about something serious, like my pension, or someone calls to speak to you about something sensible, and then they think that they need to speak to a grown-up when you answer the phone. I've been told, particularly by men, that, I'm adorable, that I should do voiceover work. I could do the voice of one of the Simpsons, that kind of thing. And, I kind of laugh it off. But I do think, well, it's a bit strange, isn't it, that people who you don't know feel the need to make comments about something personal, something about your person, almost your physical being. They feel able to comment on it. It's a bit strange. The idea with a voice that people feel they can say stuff is kind of crazy, really. So then when I went to work, most companies I've worked for, I worked in marketing and then in innovation, they felt that, I needed some gravitas if I was going to be put in front of clients, and I've been shipped off to elocution lessons.
All right, Eliza, say it again.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
I thought maybe just wearing some crazy glasses might give me some gravitas, but apparently not. So I learnt how to breathe through my stomach, and it still didn't really make a difference, but actually I started to feel that the voice I've got makes me me, and I didn't really want to change it, actually. And I also didn't really want to have to think about 25 different things before I open my mouth each time I speak. So I sacked it off and thought, well, screw you, I'm not doing it. However, I hadn't realised that all these kind of odd comments over the years had an impact. So when I started to write a book with my friend, it's called More to Life Than Shoes, with my friend Emily, one of the things I had to do was ring up inspirational women and try and secure interviews with them. And this was the first time I'd ever done anything quite so scary. Well, I know it's not scary as in jumping off a mountain or climbing Everest, but, for me, the idea of ringing up people and over the phone, voice only, trying to persuade them to be part of our project was immensely frightening, and at first I was terrible. Then a weird thing happened, and I found that actually, perhaps sounding young and perhaps cute on the phone worked to my advantage. My success rate was practically 100%. I'd be ringing up people like famous scientists or businesswomen or human rights campaigners, and somehow I was able to secure these interviews. It was unbelievable. And I thought, firstly, awesome, I'm embracing this thing, and secondly, that wasn't quite so scary in the end, mainly because no one said no, and also because I realised that I could use this thing to help me out. It wasn't as straightforward when I came to running my own business. I still shied away from the spotlight, although I knew I could make phone calls. Actually, the idea of doing talks or really putting myself out there in my business felt deeply uncomfortable to me. My MO was usually to create an amazing brand and then hide behind it like a curtain. I wouldn't put photos on the website. I'd hardly talk about myself, and let alone speak or be on film. It was crazy. Just seemed, why would I do that? Why would I put myself out there? And, people might judge me, they'll laugh at me, they'll think I sound funny. I don't want to become some kind of weird internet sensation where people are mocking the way I sound. So I just didn't do it. It wasn't until recently where step by step I've started to come out of the closet, so to speak, and really put myself into my business. It started by changing my website from some random domain to my name, nadiafiner.com. That was step 1. Step 2, I had a photo shoot and got some decent pictures. Up until that point, I was literally using the same photo, which I'm ashamed to say was about 10 years old, mainly because I wasn't that keen on having my picture taken. So I definitely recommend having a good photo shoot because it made me feel a whole lot better. I think perhaps next time I'll actually give her some branding direction aside from make me look thin, because that was the only thing I said. It was a very short brief. I had my photos taken, website under my name, and I realised that suddenly People were starting to connect with me. They wanted to find out more about me. I work one-to-one with clients or through my mastermind, and I'm the one helping people grow their business, not some huge corporate machine. It's just me, so it's my brain. It makes sense that I would use my name rather than some other random brand. The next step was to tell my story and talk openly about the challenges that I faced and the lack of confidence and the way I held myself back in business. I knew I was capable of doing great things, and I'm proud of the work I do with my clients, but up until that point I really just didn't want to go there regarding the truth of how I felt and the stuff I'd faced up to over the years. So I went off to a cafe one day and drank lots of coffee and told my story. I wrote it down, and it was really weirdly emotional. So I'm British and fairly repressed. I don't really talk about my feelings very often, so I got all this stuff down on paper, and it was weird. I felt really, I felt emotional, I felt relieved, and I felt a bit sort of naked, I suppose. So I wrote this stuff down, put it on my website, and the minute I did, I was really shocked by how people connected to my story, because people, although they don't have perhaps a small voice, a little voice like me, they have their own stuff going on, and the fact that I'm honest about it and I talk about the way I overcame it means that they're able to be more honest with me about the challenges they're facing. So yeah, that was a big step for me, and then from there I was on a bit of a roll, and I finally got round to making a few videos, and that's got easier as I've done it. I've even done some periscoping, which is live video, and now I'm finally here with my podcast, and this is the first time I've got my mic out and worked out how to turn it on. Unmuting it first, it's always a good idea. And you know what? It's actually okay. I'm sitting here in my office and I'm just talking to you, and I know that you're not sitting next to me and that this is a recording. I'm not sure I feel comfortable listening back to it yet, but I think it's a big step, and I feel like putting my little voice out there and showing that if I can do it, then you can do it is actually quite a big deal. And I'm really excited to be able to help you grow your businesses over the coming episodes of Little Voice Big Business. And in episode 2 I will be choosing a question from one of my listeners, and I'll be discussing some ways in which I think you can overcome your business challenges. Check out my website, nadiafiner.com. Here's to turning your little voice into a big business.
Little Voice, Big Business.